You don't want to miss this. We're back with more moments of reporters getting shut down for doing their job poorly and pushing an agenda. Whether it's Melania shutting down nonsense with Grace or JD handing out a reality check, these media takedowns just keep getting better and the results, well, they're pure gold. Trust me, some of these moments are so satisfying that you'll definitely want to watch this video 5 times over. As always, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this.
Why did your party want to grant over $100 million in regulatory relief to the mainstream media?
We don't want to give any tax dollars to the mainstream media. Our belief is that the mainstream media and all...
Decision then? Your party's decision to grant regulatory relief?
So I'll answer your question. The media that is bought and paid for, where are you from, by the way? Which outlet are you in? Which outlet? Which outlet?
Canadian Press.
Ah, okay, Canadian Press. So you're talking about tax dollars for media. Isn't CBC your biggest? Isn't no? I can answer.
I asked regulatory.
Yeah, and you want to answer?
Why does your party want to grant $100 million in regulatory relief to the mainstream media?
When would you like me to respond? Okay, good.
You can always tell when someone works for a sketchy media outlet when they hesitate even to say its name. That alone speaks volumes, but what's even worse is when so-called journalists refuse to let people even answer the very questions they ask. At that point, they're not journalists anymore, they're full-time activists with press badges. The whole point of asking a question is to get an answer, not to interrupt, talk over, or twist words to fit a narrative. A real journalist presents information and lets the public decide. Anything else? Well, that's just propaganda with a microphone.
So, of course, you are a tax-funded media outlet and spreading Justin Trudeau's message.
Why did you
and so you're interrupting me again. You're interrupting me again. I am answering the question.
Do you regret granting $100 million in regulatory relief to the mainstream media?
Your question is false. So if you can allow me to correct your falsehoods, then we can answer the question directly. So, false. Canadian conservatives do not believe in giving tax dollars to media outlets. That's Justin Trudeau. That's Justin Trudeau. That's Justin Trudeau. Okay, if you don't want me to answer the question, I'll move on to someone else. You're a tax-funded mouthpiece to the PMO. That's the reality. So,
the question answered. You committed.
I'm trying to, but you're heckling. Are you going to let me answer the question, or are you just going to heckle on behalf of Justin Trudeau? Which is it?
I would love the answer.
Great. So our party does not support tax dollars for media outlets, because that's when we end up with biased media like you, who come here and articulate the PMO talking points rather than delivering real news to the Canadian people.
He's absolutely right. The Canadian Press, which is the company that this young lady works for, is partially owned by the Globe and Mail, and it receives government subsidies. Some estimates suggest, quote, that there could be soon as much as a 50% subsidy on journalist salaries, up to $85,000 per year. This was possible after the passage of Bill C-18, which forces social media companies and search engines to pay media companies for links to news articles published on their platforms. That's why Meta blocked access to news on Facebook and Instagram for Canadians, while Google negotiated a deal with the government and agreed to pay Canadian news outlets $100 million Canadian dollars annually. Drop a like if you think this is as Orwellian as it gets. Next, we have a rare Melania Trump moment where she tore down a woke reporter to pieces.
And yesterday, there's been some discussion about your hat yesterday.
You know what?
Today,
we just completed an amazing trip. We went to Ghana, we went to Malawi, we went to Kenya. Here we are in Egypt. I want to talk about my trip and not what I wear. And that's very important, what I do, what we're doing with USAID, and what I do with my initiatives. And I wish people would focus on what I do, not what I wear.
This was back in 2018 when Melania took a trip to 4 African countries to promote child welfare. Just a day before this interview, she was in Kenya, and apparently the white pith helmet she wore was deemed culturally insensitive because it was associated with colonial rule. Instead of focusing on the purpose of her visit, the press fixated on the hat as if it were some kind of international scandal, and of course it was CNN reporter who asked this question, but nothing comes close to the latest JD Vance interview, and let's just say Margaret wasn't prepared for what happened next.
Well, this is a country founded by immigrants.
Well, this is a country founded by... This is a very unique country, and it was founded by some immigrants and some settlers, but just because we were founded by immigrants doesn't mean that 240 years later that we have to have the dumbest immigration policy in the world. No country says that temporary visitors their children will be given complete access to the benefits and blessings of American citizenship. America should actually look out for the interests of our citizens first. And that means, again, if you're here permanently and lawfully, your kid becomes an American citizen. If you're not here permanently, if you're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and don't plan to be, why would we make those people's children American citizens permanently?
The way JD goes on these interviews and just obliterates the MSM's talking points in such a calm and classy manner, well, it's mind-blowing. The funny thing is, this may be the zillionth time that it has happened, and these woke reporters can't seem too keen on learning from their past mistakes.
When you talked to us in August, you said, I don't think we should abandon anybody who's been properly vetted and helped us. Do you stand by that?
Well, Margaret, I don't agree that all these immigrants or all these refugees have been properly vetted. In fact, we know that there are cases of people who allegedly were properly vetted and then were literally planning terrorist attacks on our country. That happened during the campaign, if you may remember. So clearly not all of these foreign nationals have been properly vetted.
But there are 30,000 people in the pipeline, Afghan refugees.
But my primary concern as the vice president, Margaret, is to look after the American people. And now that we know that we have vetting problems with a lot of these refugee programs, we absolutely cannot unleash thousands of unvetted people into our country.
These people are vetted.
Good.
These people are vetted.
Just like the guy who planned a terrorist attack in Oklahoma a few months ago, he was allegedly properly vetted, and many people in the media and the Democratic Party said that he was properly vetted. Clearly he wasn't. I don't want my children to share a neighborhood with people who are not properly vetted. And because I don't want it for my kids, I'm not going to force any other American citizens' kids to do that either.
No, and that was a very particular case. It wasn't clear if he was radicalized when he got here or while he was living here.
I don't really care, Margaret. I don't want that person in my country, and I think most Americans agree with me.
There you have it, folks. The Vance look remains undefeated. For a second there, Margaret forgot that this was an interview and thought it was a debate. That's why she kept on coming up with new angles trying to defend her position. But when you argue against facts with feelings, it never ends well. For the final clip, it is not a reporter getting shut down, but rather a state governor with a simple piece of paper.
This is a map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco. And you see how almost the whole thing is covered, because that is what has happened in one of the previous greatest cities this country's ever had. Human feces is now a fact of life, except when a communist dictator comes to town. Then they cleaned up the streets. They lined the streets with Chinese flags. They didn't put American flags there. They cleaned everything up. So they're willing to do it for a communist dictator, but they're not willing to do it for their own people.
This was from Fox's Red State versus Blue State debate that took place near at the end of 2023, and it was an epic showdown. The way Newsom has the audacity to laugh about this issue is beyond me. It's a total shih tzu situation. But I'd love to know one of these moments. What was your favorite? So let me know in the comments down below. And if you want your friends to see these amazing takedowns, please share the video with them. They might actually need a laugh. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.